We have to create the right vibe, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at Purely Arsenal FP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome to another edition of a Purely Arsenal sit-down podcast. We asked to bounce back and for 2 wins in a week after a difficult 2 losses, and we got exactly what we were asking for and more because we've got some other games to talk about. Tottenham again. Neil Shah's with me. How you doing, Neil?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. It's a perfect weekend after a bad one, wasn't it? So yeah, good to be back above those lot.
Yeah, exactly. Best start to a season in their history, and we're above them. James Johnstone here to laugh about it. How you doing, James?
Yeah, I'm very well. No, it's amazing that, all last year we went, 31 or something games before we supposedly bottled our league, and yet they've gone 12. But they're brave, aren't they? They're so brave. Such a brave team.
Super brave.
Yeah. We win it in October, lose it in November, but they're bloody brave. So brave.
I tell you, if you get a manager in where English is their first language, you'll never get criticised again in the Unbelievable. It's incredible, isn't it? We are the foreign entity. We've been seen as that for a while. But we love it, don't we? We love it. It's like us against the world. We love all that. But we asked for 2 wins, and to be honest, it was a pretty comfortable week. Everything we had pictured in our minds probably went the way it did. A little bit of a hiccup maybe in this game briefly, but overall a really comfortable victory. Would have been a nice game to be at as well. But lineup wise, other than losing players left, right and centre, we lost Ben White. Hopefully sounds like it was more precautionary for this one. So obviously Zinchenko came in, Tomiyasu switched side, and we kept with Trossard up top after his goal scoring performance in midweek. So we got a lot of discussion on Leandro Trossard there. But as we talk about the game, 3-1 win against Burnley, we're 1 point off the top now after that 4-4 spectacular draw of Man City. I did not see that coming, to be honest. I could have seen a draw, but I didn't see a game like I don't think anyone maybe saw a game like that. It's really interesting as well. So we're going to talk a little bit on the games, but let's start with Arsenal. James, I've got to you first. Mikel Arteta talked in the week about a failure to sort of break open the deadlock early, something we'd been known and accustomed to so much last season. We start super fast and we get that early goal. We've really struggled to do that this season. And we did again, and I wondered what your thoughts were on the early portion of the game and why we might be struggling so much, because it is a bit of a picture. It's a bit of a theme, isn't it, to the season?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, if you just cast your mind back slightly to last season, I think it was the factor of that it was so, well, apart from man down there in the bottom on my screen, I don't know where he is when we upload it, so I could see he could be at the top. But other than Neil, after we beat Chelsea in pre-season last season, did he think? I didn't know anyone else that thought we were potentially going to win the league, or at least have an absolute bloody good chance to. And we just completely, like you said, we were steamrolling teams, and I think it was the surprise factor. And I think a lot of people were just like, well, yeah, they're probably going to be 4th or 5th again, and they didn't realise with the additions that we made and the inclusion of a centre-back that completely transformed, like we were saying last year, we could push 10 yards, maybe 15 yards higher up the pitch, because we've got 2 centre-backs now with recovery pace, especially one who's, people still don't believe that this guy is one of the best in the league, when I've watched yesterday the 2 that everyone tells me are the best in the league play absolute trash and concede 8 goals between the 2 of them. It's just that's a big factor. But also I think the way that we've got at the moment, especially when key aspects of it are out, everyone's talking about injuries. You take Odegaard and Jesus out of our team, They're two pivotal players to everything that we need to do. And obviously, you're going to talk about Trossard later, so I'll leave that till then. But with one big component of our attacking play at the moment, unfortunately, and it's now 19 games into the season, yet I'm still seeing people say, give this man time, or, oh, it's not just all about goals and assists, James. I'm like, okay, if it's not just all about goals and assists, what else is this man Kai Havertz bringing? Because I've watched all 19 games that we've played this season, and I can't see it. And the only goals and assists that he has got, okay, one was a very nice layoff to Martinelli to help us beat Manchester City, which was a massive win. I'll give him that. But the other goal, the goal that he got was given to him because they just wanted to give him a goal. So other than that, okay, he had a very nice volley against Seville.
Yeah.
But
that cross shot from Seville and past the post.
This week, and I don't like digging out players, Jack, but this week he's had two simple as you like headers that for a 6'4" man should be easy as anything. And he's absolute. It's not that he's missed them closely; he's absolutely fluffed them.
Yeah.
And that to me at the moment, until we can get him either producing or clicking or get a player back that will go into that position, once Odegaard's back, I don't think he's going to play. But because at the moment, as much as, again, he's looking like a player that could be leaving in the future, I think Jorginho is showing that he's more than capable enough if we have to play Rice in an 8 that he could fill 6 because, again, Thomas Partey can't rely on him. I think now people, and I'm seeing a lot of it change. I know a lot of people are no, you got to keep Partey even as a squad player. You got to keep. A lot of them now are like, no, I'm done with him now as well. He's just too unreliable. And I think we've got to move on, and which I think we've said for a very, very long time. In that, he's such a good player to have if you can, but his hamstrings they just don't last.
Mashed potato legs, isn't it? The problem is with that, and we'll go to the transfer part at the end. But who else is going to want him? They're all going to see his injury record as well, aren't they? But yeah, I agree on Havertz. As we're going to start. Yeah, but I think it's fine to start with someone like Havertz. To be honest, I mean, in midweek, he showed a little bit more. I don't think it was anything beyond being okay, but a few little chances, not being so conservative with the ball. But I thought he was dreadful in this game, to be honest. I think we've got to start calling it as he is. We're going up against Burnley. They're second bottom in the league. This is a game where he's in the attacking 10 position, where you should really be sort of taking your game to him and be confident in a game like this. And I thought he was wimpish at times, and I thought that header was dreadful. Again, he's 6'4". It's a free header at the back post, and it's miles off target. And it's not the first time he's done that this season. He wins a lot of aerials. I saw the data on him before he came to Arsenal. He had like the second best aerial wins in the league, but what I didn't realise was he kept heading those aerials over the bar by 10 yards. Like, if someone should have given him that data. So that's what's frustrating, because I'm like, well, we're seeing that, and we're like, is he in a game like this that was largely governed by aerial set pieces and crosses? That's how we won the game in the end. We didn't expect it, but that's how we did it. I mean, he should have been lapping that up, but we've got 5'6" players winning bigger headers than he did, and that is frustrating. And I thought he was hooked earlier than Mikel Arteta would hook anyone in a game like this. I don't think he felt real need to it. Unfortunately, the guy that came on for him was just as much of a donut, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, from early on, 5th minute, the first chance that we had was a cross from Saka. Gabriel, free header, also should have done better. And Neil, just to go to you, I mean, we can talk a little bit. I think James is right with the discussion on us being kind of a novelty to other teams. I think there's data out there that says we play against the deepest blocks of any team in the league, even including City. So everyone is seeing us. And whilst they might be going up against a Tottenham, who are like a bit of a novelty to a lot of teams this season, when they go up against us, they're going, no, we're going to sit deep. We're going to sit deep. You saw it even against Sevilla. Sevilla had to win that game, or at the very least get a point. They didn't even look like they wanted to attack. They didn't even try. They were so scared of their own shadows and staying in their box. I thought after we went 1-0 up, I thought that'll break it open. They didn't move. They did not move. They had one shot in the 96th minute in haste. And that's what we're coming up against. Sevilla are a recognised European team. Do you know what I mean? They competed against City in the Super Cup, didn't they, this season? Didn't they lose on penalties or something, or lost in extra time? So it's no mugs, you know. And I think people are just hugely respecting us. And then, of course, we've played, at this point last season, we played 11 games with our first choice front four. We've played one starting after our first choice front four. That's obviously a huge factor. The lack of party, not being able to progress the ball quickly is another factor. So I think those are all factors. But Mikel Arteta, I think some people thought maybe it was intentional, like trying to control games more, but we definitely want to break open the deadlock against these teams a little bit earlier. I was a little bit worried early on, Neil. We weren't creating very much. We had the couple of headers I just talked about. Saka hit the bar, but a great save actually from their goalkeeper. Were you concerned early on, Neil? Are you concerned about how we sort of struggle to be creative in games this season, in games like this?
Yeah, we're not free flowing like we were last season. There are numbers of factors here. We've got the fact of the obvious one, injuries, that we haven't been able to keep hold of the starting 11 that we want game in, game out. I remember last season we were pretty much holding on to same players, weren't we, for a while, and we were wondering that, wow, this hasn't happened for a long time, but is it a good thing? Because, you know, they might burn out, there might be injuries, and that could curtail the whole season, which it ended up doing with the injuries to Tomiyasu and Saliba. So it's been very different this season. The fact remains that we're still up there, but we're certainly not showing the signs of free-flowing, enterprising football, we steamrolled everyone. We were unbelievable, apart from the blip against Man United, which actually another controversial one, wasn't it? So, you know, apart from that, we were just in seventh heaven, really. We were just brilliant. This season, it's been more kind of determination, stuttering, not really free-flowing, but still somehow hanging in on there. And I've been saying a couple of times on before that, in a way, I kind of like it. I'm not saying it's great to watch and it's not worrying me, but I kind of like it because we're not like just going full steam ahead and then we come to a point where we've peaking too early. I don't think that people argue there's no such thing as peaking too early because it's good to be playing or be on form all the time. Of course it is. You know, it's better to be that way. But I just feel that the pacing might go in our favour where we're not. I've always felt also that we're better as underdogs. I don't know about you guys, but when we're like up there and people think, oh yeah, and then they want to see us fall. They hate us so much as it is, and they'd love to see us fall. So I feel it's better that we're just kind of just there and thereabouts, but we're not losing track or sight of the top, if that makes sense. But
we're better chasing, 100%.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I do feel that. With the injuries and then the experimentation as well through us. Initial experimentation, again, to probably accommodate the guy that James talked about a bit earlier, I don't think helped us. It's far too much tinkering for me, overthinking than I would have liked, because for me, the team last season, there wasn't much wrong with it, as far as I'm concerned. And I think he's tried to overthink things. He's tried to be very clever. I've still got this feeling, like you guys have always said, that we're feeling that he's trying to outsmart Pep at his own game. And I don't know why he's having to do that. Just do your own thing. And it worked last season for the bulk of it, for 85% of the season. So why are you not replicating that? But at the same time, I think it's quite a compliment that if teams like even such as Sevilla and Man City are almost having a low block against us, it's a bit of a compliment. And I felt Saturday, that while it was a little bit of a worry, I thought it was a very kind of controlled and chess-like, patient start. Again, not the prettiest. There was a bit of side to side, but I always felt that we were in control. But we did create more, and I think a big part of that was Zinchenko was on fire. And where we lacked Odegaard, because he's obviously missing at the moment, And I think having him play and him doing his thing a bit further up the field, I think really did help us. Ironically, he wasn't so bad as a defender for a change, but I still feel he's got more to offer being a kind of up there properly, if that makes sense, or officially. And it showed he was involved in pretty much everything. A lot of the stuff that we did, even the goals that we scored, he was in. He was there and thereabouts, and he was providing issues or causing issues for the opposition. The simple trickery that he graced us with when he first started again last season. So I think that really was the difference to other games where I felt, oh my God, how are we going to break this down? A bit like Sheffield United. We won 5-0, but the first 35 minutes, I was worried. I was sitting there behind the goal thinking, how are we going to do this? We're just side to side. We're a bit clueless. It's hardly any creativity. It's a bit dull, a bit dross. So a little bit of a concern, but at the moment, weirdly, strangely, it seems to be working. And our goal difference isn't too bad either. It's not far off, is it, the others? It's weird the way it's happening.
It's right up there as second in the league. We've got the best defensive record in the league. And the best XG defensive record in the league. So Liverpool have conceded the same amount of goals as us. But they're not even in the top 3 for XG conceded. That's because they've got the best goalkeeper in the league. I think I was saying that to James earlier. I mean, they according to XG should have conceded about 5 more goals. That's where your goalkeeper really comes in handy. We're about level with ours. But what it says is, we basically defensively we've been the most secure team in the league up until this point. Not just based on goals conceded, based on how many goals we should have conceded. We conceded 10. We should have conceded about 9.5. That's what it says, and that's basically that's a really good sign. We've definitely improved in that area. Like, we limit teams to way less chances than we did, I think, even in the earlier part of last season. I'd really like to look at the data from the earlier part of last season where we were winning all the games.
It's Rice, Jack. I literally attribute that to Declan Rice and potentially Tomiyasu, obviously playing a bit more. Yeah, because they carry. Last season, you didn't have people that could carry. We didn't really have someone that can carry like that. I mean, Declan Rice defensively, unbelievable, but even offense, just some of the things, like tucking it through people's legs and spinning and stuff like that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, but
he's so good.
His anticipation to win balls back,
he's so aware.
His interceptions and his ground duels, like even from the 8, he has this ability to just recover and just refill that gap. And we never had that, even with Xhaka, let's be honest. We never had that ability to refill. If you were being broken upon, do you remember how easily we used to get broken upon? You'd be like, they've had one pass and they're 2-on-2. Like, do you remember that? But in saying that, just before we get to the goal, which I'll go back to Neil and James, my argument for Raya, who I think has definitely been inconsistent since he came in with Arsenal, was I can't understand why we concede so many goals to so little chances, because it was going in this way. We even with Ramsdale, we were conceding less chances, but we were conceding the goals. We were conceding a lot of goals, and I couldn't work it out. And at 0-0, when we weren't creating very much, Saliba actually makes an error and he kicks the ball back and it goes straight into their striker's path. And I think Raya makes a phenomenal save, James, to be honest. I'm not saying Ramsdale wouldn't have made it or anything, but it is a phenomenal save. It's low down to his left. His foot's coming inside. It's a really good save, I think, James.
Yeah, it is. And like we were mentioning, obviously before we started recording as well, when I was watching it back, I was just like, whoever closed him down did really well there to sort of narrow his shot as well. And it was Zinchenko. And I do agree with what Neil said as well. He was on fire. But it was normally we laud this guy's offensive work, but his defensive work seems to lack. And even that on Saturday was superb. And I think, like we were saying as well, where Tomiyasu's been coming in and playing left back, and he also knows that over his shoulder is Timber, who Neil, again, like we were mentioning on WhatsApp, I'm like, this guy went so out. I'm like, he's going to be even more determined now to show people what he's all about. He's probably thinking, my minutes with Tomiyasu, who I think, if when we do our little award type shows at the end of the season, I think unsung hero at the moment, Tomiyasu's won that. I think it's going to be it's between him or Ben White for unsung hero for me, maybe even Gabriel in there. But no, Tomiyasu's mine at the moment, because he's completely come back to the player that we thought we had when he first, after the World Cup last year, he sort of went through a bit of a dip. Tomiyasu, he admitted it himself, didn't he? But he's just so superb. Like, we're playing him at left back, he's superb. There, we're playing him at centre back, he's superb. There, he played at right back. You could just slot him wherever you want to slot him, and the guy just gives you, he just gives you an 8, doesn't he? He's always a 7 or an 8 out of 10 at the moment. So, but yeah, I think Zinchenko's looked at it and gone, I might need to buck my ideas up here. And if he's going to play games like that, then yeah, maybe Tomiyasu or a Timber aren't going to get in, because they don't have his technical quality. That, as much as I rate both of them, they don't have that pass, that control, everything, that Zinchenko has. So yeah, no, but the Raya save, was absolutely brilliant. He made another one, didn't he, as well, in the So
in the first half, yeah.
No, and I mean, this is and I hate saying it, but there's so many that I see give Havertz time. Yeah, I want Ramsdale back. I hate Raya. I'm like, well, what? You can't have it both ways. Why is Raya? Why the manager has made Raya his number one. We all said it. I think, Neil, you were the one who said that presentation was not a presentation of a man that's going to be sat on the bench. So he's made his decision now, yet it's, no, I want Ramsdale back. It's terrible what we're doing to him and everything. Well, sorry, this has happened. This is, I'm old school. This is football. Football's ruthless, I'm afraid. So decision's been made.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Ramsdale will come back in for the next game, because Raya is obviously can't play against Brentford. So we're still going to need Ramsdale, and hopefully he can put in a good performance for us. But I do think that was really critical. Neil, it's been a really good week for Leandro Trossard. It's been a really good year for Leandro Trossard. I mean, he's scored 5 goals this season, 2 assists in 600 minutes. I think he's our top scorer overall, alongside Bukayo Saka, I want to say, maybe. Eddie, I don't know how many, maybe Eddie's only got 5. But Saka's obviously got like 8 assists. So, but Trossard's only played 600 minutes. Now, what do you think he gives us centrally? Great goal, poacher's goal, to be honest, but almost broke his arm in the process. What do you think he gives us from centrally that maybe Eddie or Havertz wouldn't do?
He gives us a lot. He gives us a lot. I don't think he's put a foot wrong since he joined in January. I will keep saying it, and I will not stop saying it, because I think he's, whilst he hasn't got that punchy, energetic sprint down the left-hand side that Martinelli has, which is fantastic, by the way. Let's give him a shout, because he worked tirelessly. He's brilliant. I think Martinelli is even in a weird way better than last season, if I may say so. I think he's just power, energy, dynamism, brilliant. But what Trossard does, I think in a weird way, he kind of mimics a little bit what Jesus does, in the sense that he's unpredictable. He can interchange very quickly the left and the middle position. It throws defenders off. I think what he's got as well, he's got awareness, very aware. He knows where to stand. For example, you think about the goal against Sevilla, which Jorginho, fantastic pass, by the way. He knew where to be to receive the cross from Saka. He knew that goal on Saturday for you yesterday. Sorry, Jack. He's put himself on the line for his club. I'm not quite sure there'd be many players that would play that or head that, knowing that they're going to be going straight into the corner, the post, when potentially suffering a bad injury, which he did get injured, but luckily he's made of iron, so he was okay. But I think he's just awareness. He's got the ability to switch, and I think he's clever. And I think he gives us so much up front that I feel, I'm going to call it now, when Jesus is fit, he's out. And I feel so sorry for him, because I think there's probably, I can't say this with certainty, but I think 80% of the Prem teams, he would just slot in and be first starter every game. Pretty much. I think it's a great front three to have if you're counting Jesus as well, because they're all very different, but it all works. I'm happy with. I'd have no problems when it's just Martinelli, Trossard, and Saka. Same with Jesus comes in, no problems at all. And we can switch, and we've got that little bit of flexibility and variety that we're seeing in our defence. You guys mentioned it earlier. I think Tomiyasu has been wonderful, and that's why when White was ruled out, I didn't have any worries yesterday or Saturday, because I knew that we got such flexibility and variety and interchangeability in the back, and there's no drop-off levels anymore. See, last season, if there was someone out, we had a level, we dropped down a level or two. This season, if anything, we might even be stronger, weirdly enough, because of what James was saying about Tomiyasu. He's been superb. So I see that at the front as well a little bit, because Trossard is no mug if Jesus isn't around. And that's what he offers. And I'm sorry, people had a go at him for, I think it was the West Ham game, that he started, because I've been crying out for him to get more minutes. And he started, and unfortunately, it probably wasn't one of his better games. But who had a good game against West Ham? And actually, up to the game against West Ham, he didn't have much game time. So he was a little bit cold as well. So for him to just come in and, get on with it, and everyone else was playing poorly as well or below par, you can't expect miracles from him. But normally, Jack, it's you guys mentioned about, I can't remember who you were saying, Tomiyasu earlier. It's normally a 7, 8 out of 10 performance. I see that with Trossard as well. Minimum. He's just a great player for us to have. Fantastic player.
Yeah, I think he's our best finisher as well, actually. I don't, which is surprising to say, but I do. And I mean, all 6 goals assisted by Bukayo Saka. He's assisted a few for him as well. He's assisted a few for Martinelli. I can picture in my head as well. He's not been here that long. Is it that connection, James, as well? Just like Neil said, with what he provides, that similarity to Jesus. But really, I mean, even though he's been assisted by Saka, he connects on the other side really well. No matter how much we've played Eddie in there, it always feels a bit isolated, and it always feels like our wingers suffer a little bit.
Yeah.
And is that the biggest problem? Because those are our stars, aren't they? Right? Martinelli and Saka are our stars.
Yeah.
They're the stars of the attack.
I mean, I've said it for nearly 2 seasons now. If Saka or Martinelli don't do anything, this team ain't doing anything. If we're going to win a trophy, like one of the big trophies, them two are going to contribute in some way. So if you're taking, Jesus out, who's so important to us, who's the best at being somewhat of a replica to what he gives? It's Trossard. As much as I like to sit here and say I'm the Eddie Nketiah fan club, he's a guy that's still learning to do that role. And if we're being brutally honest, we haven't really got time. The way the standard at this club is now, we haven't got time for people to learn. We're not in the stage of let's learn and, no, you need to be, if you're in there, you need to be at, like we've kept saying, 7 or 8 and producing. You can't just be, he might be a 5 this week. He might be a 3. He could either be a 2 or a 1. But the week after that, he might be a 9. No, you need to be consistently, like I said, performing and providing, because the standard and the level has gone that way. We're not here anymore. We're up here. The ceiling is up here, and he just we know that he might get you the goals potentially, but he does not. It does hinder the other two. If you look at the Newcastle game, and again, that's another one, Trossard, because I think mainly because of his set pieces, he got classed as having a terrible game. But Martinelli and Saka in that game, Saka, I thought, had a stinker away at Newcastle, personally. Yeah. And Martinelli, for all that he did do well, as soon as Livramento, who I do rate quite highly, come on, he was just winding him up. You know, he was having little niggly fouls at him, and in the end, it was like, right, get him off because he's going to get, you know, he's going to react badly and be in trouble here with Martinelli. He's going to snap in a minute, and it just hindered both of them out. But since Trossard, you know, the 2 games, obviously Seville, and then this one that we've seen, the boys, you know, Seville was one of Saka's best games I've seen him have in weeks. And then at the weekend, look at how, like you said, more effective Martinelli was and Saka was.
Yeah.
And you attribute that to Trossard because, like Neil said as well, it's the interchange. Because there were times when I was watching it on Saturday that it was like Saka was in the 9. It was Martinelli was in the 9. There were bits where Havertz was in the 9 and Trossard went deep and went, I'll go in the 8, mate.
Exactly,
you know, it was,
like Jesus,
and it just, and it just confuses people. You know, some of if we're going to talk about it, the best sort of front 3 that we've had of this generation that everyone lauds is Messi, Neymar, Suarez. And no, they're not as good as Messi, Neymar, Suarez. All 3 of them at the moment, they could be one day, but at the moment they're not. And that was just purely because all 3 of them would just go, right, I'm going to go in here for 5 or 10 minutes, you go in there. And we've got, a somewhat version of it, but it does help and it does confuse these teams because you're getting used to, you know, when you're in your back 4 or your 5, you're like, well, I know that he's going to be down the mid. And when they all swap around, you've got to go, oh, maybe now I've got to go 5 yards deeper because he's going to come and do this or he's going to cut in there. And he's such a smart player as well. You know, the first ever goal at the Emirates, number 19, Gilberto, 1000th, number 19, Trossard, you know, I love it.
Yeah, I was there for that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Villa 1-1, wasn't it?
Dreadful game. Olive Melberg, wasn't it? Yeah.
I always remember that game because we were 1-0 down. No, we weren't. I definitely were 1-0 down. I think we were 1-0 down and equalised. But and all they kept screaming was "Get out of Bayer" or "Get out of Bayer" on the people behind me. And he came on within 30 seconds. The same people went, "Get out of Bayer off. He's rubbish." I just remember cracking up laughing during the game. God, that was a tough one. Yeah, we had a few tough years, didn't we, early on in the Emirates. Took us a while to adjust to the new stadium, but we are getting there now, making it a bit of a fortress. But I agree with you on Trossard. I think it happened last season. This same thing happened last season. If anything, midweek, when we were all worried with all of injuries, every now and then you get an injury that reminds the manager of something, because I don't think Trossard starts this weekend if he doesn't play midweek centrally. And I don't think he starts midweek centrally if Eddie's fit, to be honest. And I always think we've had a couple of little games, half games, where he's been central this season and maybe he's been a bit quiet, but he moved to that last season when Jesus was out for a long period of time and we started to find our mojo again. Do you remember? We went away to Leicester, was it? Or I think, and we started to play again. And, you know, we had the home game against
Fulham was the big one. Fulham away, wasn't it?
Fulham away.
He got all the assists in the first half, didn't he? He got like a hat-trick of assists.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was in a lot of them from the left, even though he was playing centrally. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, if you remember, me and Neil complained because as soon as Jesus was fit, he comes straight back in, and me and Neil were like, "Why have you done that? You know, why have you took Trossard, who was on form, straight out just because he's come back?" I'm like, you should have gone to Jesus. You sit a minute, mate, because this at the moment is purring.
Yeah, and have you said that for Eddie before? And no offense, but have you said that for Eddie before? You know what I mean?
No.
And we'll get on to January, but I do still think, I've said it for about 3 windows now, but I do think that he's the most sellable asset alongside Ramsdale that we have, Eddie and Nketiah. I wouldn't sell him. I don't want to sell him, but if we need money to buy what we're going to talk about, I would happily, because Trossard's another option. And to be honest, if we're going to use our 65 million man, I think we all agree that we're probably the most comfortable with having him there anyway than we are. It's certainly in midfield. So there's another option as well, you know, and then it depends on what you bring in, of course, after it. But we'll get to that. But great goal by Trossard. Brilliant header by Saka, by the way. Obviously, Zinchenko, the master of the game, really. I felt the brain of the whole game. But Saka, he's got no right to win that, really. me. I mean, I don't think he's got any right to win that, especially when Havertz standing right beside him, looking over it all, going, oh yeah, go on, you do it. But then Trossard as well. I mean, the keeper, he absolutely clatters into the keeper, into the post. Tremendous bravery, right? I mean, and I couldn't cheer it because I thought there was something wrong with him. I thought it wasn't maybe a goal for say. It didn't look right. It was one of those ones where you're like, is something off here? So I couldn't really cheer it. But it was a massive goal right on the stroke of half time. It relaxed us a little bit, but it maybe relaxed us a little bit too much, James, because we came out in the second half and we weren't really at it. So I'll go to Neil for this and I'll come back to James. So question for because you just mentioned Tomiyasu. James was talking about Tomiyasu being brilliant. I do think he's been faultless, but at about the 55th minute, I thought Tomiyasu looked knackered. I thought he looked like a player that hadn't played right back for a while. That's to me what I thought he looked like. Because let's be honest, playing left back for Arsenal is far less physically taxing than playing right back. Like, right back's more traditional. Left back's inverted. You're playing with a ball a little bit. He's Zinchenko, right? You're doing a little bit of tapping, right? And I was watching him going, you look like you're blowing a little bit, but there was no option. There wasn't even Cedric as an option. Raw Waters was the option, which actually I prefer to Cedric. But on the goal, Neil, I thought initially foul, but when you watch it back, it's not going to ever get given as a foul. Maybe I'm being harsh, but it's not because he's kind of holding his shirt as he falls down. He's a bit stupid there. He should have just gone down. But to me, it struck me as a tired fall from Tomiyasu because there's no reason he should have got. He's just ushering the ball out of play. Sloppy overall defensively, but Tomiyasu, you look at him a little bit there, Neil.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can't get away from the fact that he's not played in that position for a while. Let's put it that way. He's been brilliant when he's covered Zinchenko, and I think you're right. I think that side is a bit more taxing because I've heard I don't notice it as much as you guys. I think you guys are sharper-eyed, but you even noticed it with Ben White at times, where you think Ben White is flagging a bit. And so I think you're right. You kind of nailed that. I think it's probably a little bit more taxing for players to play on that side or in that particular position. And then if you've got someone who hasn't really been playing there, although that's what we brought him in for, ironically enough, but he hasn't been there. So it's going to be tough work. It's going to be tough work. That's not to discredit him at all because he's been fantastic. Ever since he's kind of recovered from his injury and he's got the opportunities to play, he's been brilliant. But yeah, you would say that he looked a little bit tired and probably outdone there. And I think you're right. I thought it was a foul as well. You know me, I'm so definitely into this corruption bias thing, and I thought, here we go, here's another one. Look at that. By the way, let me just quickly say that there was an incident with Saka as well, wasn't he? And you know, he just fed the touch to someone. The goal wasn't given, but you know, the other day, you know, Gabriel's completely like flawed and two-handed, pushed down. You know, let's try a bit harder and see actually get hammer him down on the floor. But no, that's fine. That's a goal, isn't it? Anyway, sorry, I've just digressed there a little bit.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it is. The problem with that one is that Saka foul is exactly what you expect. It gets given all the time. What happened?
No, I
with
agree.
Saka, but when you see it in comparison to our one, you just laugh. Of course.
I thought pushes were allowed, but it depends on the week, doesn't it?
And Saka's one,
it depends.
wasn't really a
on the
push,
badge on your
and
chest,
that's why the push
James.
doesn't matter. That's why the push
true.
doesn't matter. Saka's one was proof of why the comments from Carragher and Neville were so stupid, because the push doesn't matter. You put your hands into someone back anywhere on the box. It's an idiotic statement to Royal Arsenal fans. We know that's the rule, and we know it's a push anyway from Jollington. But even if your hands are extended into someone's back, it's a foul every day of the week. That's what's so stupid about it, and that's what the Saka one proved. Sorry, carry on.
No, that's fine. But I think if we're talking about the goal, I think we're talking about the goal against for Burnley, wasn't it? Where they got an unwelcome equaliser. It reflects. I think he was that was probably also a little bit of Zinchenko, that he just outmuscled him, didn't he? That the attacker. Am I thinking about that right time?
Wasn't Zinchenko involved in that? Was he there? I just remember it being Tomiyasu falling and then being cut back.
Wasn't it that one? I'm sure it was, or I'm getting mixed up with the other game.
Yeah, I don't think Zinchenko was involved in it. I can watch it back. I don't think Zinchenko was involved in this one. I just remember Tomiyasu going down and falling back.
My screen wasn't fluttering. James, help me out here.
Tomiyasu, like we were saying, it's the only real blip. I feel same as you. I feel same as you, Jack. I think he should have been stronger there. But as much because the thing for me was, I was like, if this is going to get looked at, they're going to go, well, Tomiyasu's got a hold of him as well. They're like, how are you going to judge that? They're both pulling each other, and the other guys come off it better.
Yeah,
and then they've scored. Yeah.
Again, unfortunately, that doesn't happen in the Chelsea game where Cucurella has a little bit of Haaland. Haaland has a little bit of him first of all when they just give a pen, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. Infuriating,
it's infuriating. But then at the same time, I agree with what me and Mike were saying on the WhatsApp. I'm like, I've always thought Cucurella was a bit of an idiot. Since he's gone to Chelsea, he looks like a massive idiot anyway. And I'm like, he sucked you right in there because I spoke to a friend of the show, Melvin, yesterday. And Melvin, bless him, is about the same height as Cucurella. And he's like, James, how can someone my size pull down a 6'5" bloke like that ever? And I'm like, no, he's sucked him in, mate. He's completely done him. So
he's an idiot, isn't he, Cucurella?
Sorry, I've made a mistake there. I apologise, but I think that it was although it was unwelcome and there was a deflection, and it was maybe a bit of a blip on our part. The point I just wanted to make was the way we responded was fantastic. It was just, again, an Arsenal 2-3 seasons ago, maybe 4 seasons ago, we wouldn't have done because it was such a hard graft to open them up in the first place. So if you go back a little bit to an earlier Arsenal team, they would have been happy and elated that finally we've broken this team down with a low block, with some patience and persistence, and we've done it. Oh, and God, and we've completely messed it up, and then they've equalised, and it's all like heads drop, completely and utterly heads drop. And then, you feel that this is something where in the last, 18 months has completely changed with our team, that we would go behind, then we not only respond, but we respond very, very quickly. And the biggest factor is the players' attitudes and their heads don't drop. And it's players like Rice, who you mentioned earlier, is a big part of that. We cannot underestimate how important he is, especially with the inconsistency of Partey's appearances. Because can you imagine if we didn't have Rice? Can you imagine if we hadn't decided to spend 105 million on a player? We would not be where we are now in the table. I can guarantee you that. Because he has become so important as part of this squad and what it can do. Like you said, his timing, his awareness. But I sometimes see him going to a tackle and think, God, he's going to get carded here. But he's so accurate with it and his retrievals. It's just mind-boggling. And actually, if you want to quickly mention, sorry, I'm going backwards and forwards with what you initially asked, and I do apologise. But the goal that I don't know whether you want to talk about it or not. He's instrumental in, causing havoc for the goalkeeper. In most of the set pieces or the corners yesterday, he was right by the goalkeeper, not giving him much manoeuvrability. He was just literally ghosting him constantly. And that's a mark of a clever player. And that is what Rice is. But I was just pleased for 2 players in that goal. It was Trossard with the assist after he obviously put his life on the line for us in his goal. And then, of course, the majestic, the supreme, unbelievable, average, not world-class player that is Saliba, who just makes it look so stupidly easy. I think he was kind of nowhere in sight, and then he cleverly runs behind the goalkeeper and he goes to the goalkeeper. Yeah, you just try and raise your hands against me. Yeah, but the goalkeeper, I think the goalkeeper was just in awe. He was looking at him thinking, wow, what a player. What a physique of a man. Yeah. If Jack, you probably don't know, but he's probably thinking, wow, God, that is Thanos standing in front of me. I'm not even going to bother to try. And, just made it look ridiculous. It was almost like, I don't know, just everyone else wasn't there. There was no other players. It was just Trossard and him in the box. They were just practicing after training one day. He just dinks it in. If Havertz needs a lesson, watch him. That's how you get a ball on target. I know it was probably an easier header to deal with, but to be honest, that is what you got to look at, and that's what you got to do. Havertz has just got to get the ball on target. But yeah, Saliba, forget his defensive capability. I just think he's supreme. He's just a magnificent player.
I think through the game, just as I don't know if it was something that we worked on through the week, the set pieces literally was all of them were like drop them right in that area.
Yeah, we targeted their goalkeeper.
Yeah, they're like he's fragile and just ping them because, like we said, Havertz should have scored his one in the first half. You know, and the Saliba one. But one thing I will say is when we conceded last year, whenever something went right, like I remember Saliba's own goal was at Leicester at home. And it was like everyone was like, "Come on, Ars!" You know,
real uplift. Yeah,
I thought again, I'm only watching on the television, but I thought it was a bit flat. It sounded very, very flat over there, and I don't know if that's again where the expectations risen, and people are like, "Oh no, you know, we're throwing points away now, and this is so important." Because I think when you get so close, like we did, 5 points. And we've got everything, like Neil said, we've got everything else going against. I'm not as full in the conspiracy as Neil is, but when you've got so much more against you, you know, you're not just playing teams, you're playing an institution as well now. That's it. And every little margin, I think, you know, people were like, "Oh, I'm nervous. You know, have we dropped 2 points now?" But don't be nervous because straight away, bang, there you go. We're 2-1 up now. And they had to come out and play somewhat a bit more than they did. I mean, they didn't, but you thought that they were going to. And it was a big goal to get at a big time. A bit like the first one was so important to get just before half. That's the best sort of time to score right before half time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a cliche, but it is.
No, absolutely. It's the weight of expectation from the fans. I said as soon as I started, people started saying that, you know, our fan base is going quiet again. I went, fantastic. That's when we know we're really good. Yeah, that's when we know we're really good. I remember the years that's when I used to go, 98, 2004. It was quiet as anything. Why? Because we were winning all the time. That's why. And we were worried we weren't going to win. That's what we were. I'd go to the game. I was like, oh, please don't win again last week.
Well, we were moaning because we weren't winning by more goals.
Exactly.
So, I've only won 2-1 today.
Yeah, exactly. Look at Barcelona when they were really good. They got their white handkerchiefs out, 1 loss in 35. Unbelievable, isn't it? Do you remember? That's exactly. We're going to start going really silent at the Emirates. That's when you know we're on the brink of making it, you know. But you're
we were quiet because we couldn't believe what we were watching. Just the words just wouldn't come out your mouth because you saw Overmars or a Bergkamp or an Henri do so. You were like, what?
We're in awe. Exactly. Yeah. But we made 32 crosses in this game, just backing up what you boys said. Their goalkeeper's young, isn't he? He's 19, 20. I know he's got a lot of potential, but that is very young for a Premier League goalkeeper. And we targeted him. We noticed he had a little bit of the old lemon crumble legs. And if the ball goes right underneath his bar, he's going to collapse in a heap. And we did it. We did, and we got criticised. We criticised Arsenal for our set pieces against Newcastle because they were poor. In this game, I thought our deliveries were much, much better from set pieces. And in fairness to Nicolas Jova, he does adjust quite well set piece wise. We're a much bigger threat than we used to be. Remember, when corners just didn't make a difference for us. It was just pointless having them, basically. Remember against Everton, when we played Everton earlier in the season, we started to make them all short because we knew they were really good in the box, but we knew they weren't going to move as well outside of it. He's adjusting. He's adjusting a bit.
We got 2 centre-backs as well that are brilliant in both boxes. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Like, Gabriel at attacking a set piece is just as good as Saliba is as well. So that's a big factor that, you know, like you said, we're much better at them than we were before.
Yeah,
much better.
Some big goals from corners this season. Trossard's from Everton, Declan Rice last minute against Man United. Big goals. And this was a big one too, because it was straight after it just relaxed you back down again. You went, okay, calm again, we can relax a little bit, and I think we did to a degree. But again, Neil, another set piece. So I should go James with this one. But he's the best player on the pitch. Zinchenko was. I think we've already mentioned it. But that scissor kick is can't really call it, but bicycle kick, scissor kick. I don't really know which way to go with it. But it's his first goal at the Emirates. which I didn't even realise at the time, because I think I remember him scoring last season, but that was away at Villa, wasn't it? But it was a fantastic finish to top off a really, really good performance from Zinchenko. And he was so up for it, wasn't he? You could see at the end of the game, he was, even in the 90th minute, he's like pumping up the crowd, and he had a little interview with one of the Arsenal media team after the game, and you could tell he was just delighted to get the 3 points more than anything. But really impressed by him, James.
Yeah, no, it was a really, really good game for him. He was a man of the match for me. I thought he was fantastic. Like we said, if you look at the first goal, it's his ball into Saka that creates it and everything. And then, like you said, I think he was just a nuisance offensively, defensively. Neil mentioned it; he was on fire, and the finish is absolutely superb. I mean, I've not watched Match of the Day this week yet. I'll watch it later, but apparently they just glossed over it. They didn't even really want to talk. They didn't even mention it. Didn't want to talk about it. Right. And yeah, it's an absolute superb goal. I mean, it's Di Canio-esque per se. But yeah, it's an absolutely brilliant goal, and he deserved it. You know, when you play as well as he did, it was nice for him to get that moment. I mean, he's been in this league 6-7 years, and I think he's only ever scored the 2 goals, and this is a kick, and the one at Villa that was a really, really good goal as well. So yeah, so good for him. You know, keep it going.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he needs a little bit of that competition. I argued a couple of weeks ago that I think he might feel not hard done by, but might feel like he's above being sitting on the bench at Arsenal. He did that at City, but at Arsenal he expected to be a starter, etc. But I think he's very aware of how good we are and how close we are, and he wants to be a part of that. So and there's always that part of you that's not happened yet, but there's that part of you that thinks maybe we might repurpose him like we did a Santi Cazorla. There's so many options with Zinchenko. In the end, you know, you want as good a footballer as that just to be in and around your group, don't you? So, no, I was really impressed with him. I thought he ran the show, really. There are some downers on the game. I thought all of our subs were poor, Neil, when they came on. I thought Nelson, Eddie and Vieira offered nothing, really. And that was frustrating. Not that we just needed something a little bit more from them. I wanted to be a bit more ball dominant. Obviously, the red card plays into it. But Neil, Fabio Vieira's had a up and down Arsenal career. Started quite well early this season, then picked up a little knock and has never really made his way back to the side. Smith Rowe was ahead of him, I feel, before he got injured. And I was expecting big things from Fabio Vieira this season, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And that's a really stupid 3-match ban to get when you're losing players left, right and centre, isn't it?
Very, isn't it? I mean, I let me just put it out there. I don't think there was any malice or intent. I think it was just clumsy. That's all it was. He's not. I would like to think none of our players are like that. We're not going out there to deliberately maim or hurt players. Because we don't need to. Because our football is so good. We don't need to do that. So I don't think there was anything like that. But yeah, by the letter of the law, it's a red, isn't it? It's a red. It is a bit silly. It's a time where we're in control of the game. Really, there's no need for it. And I think knowing that Odegaard is still out, we don't know when he's going to return. We've got gaps, and you want as many players, if they're not injured, to be available, and then to make yourself unavailable with something as clumsy as that. That's I don't know whether it's naivety, a bit stupid, just losing your head for a moment. Hopefully he'll learn from it. I still think he's another one that I would say. I think stuttering is a bit of a harsh word, but he's not been completely fluid and consistent as you might want him to be. But again, he's another one that hasn't had proper consistent match time. It's so hard to judge these players. And it's not fair maybe to be overly critical when they haven't had a proper run. So I think probably the only exception is that, and I'm sorry again, James, is probably Eddie, because he has had a lot of time. But I don't think he's, as you guys have said, I don't want to go over it because I don't want to turn this into an Eddie witch hunt. But I just feel that he's not consistent enough. He was great against Sheffield United. He was a man possessed at Sheffield United. Just brilliant, especially after we got the first goal. But then he puts in a couple of kind of below average performances, and you think, well, hang on, surely that hat-trick's just giving you the world of confidence. Start bagging them in and doing it every week for us. But no, and I think that's a little bit what I see in Fabio. He's not quite hitting the mark, but it's a bit unfair to completely criticise him because of the lack of game time. But that was clumsy. We haven't got a full squad. You don't do that. You really don't, because now it's limited our options. Hopefully, thankfully, in a weird way, the international break is here. We don't often like them. But I think this one, I called it wrong last time, so I'm going to kill myself with this. But I think this one has come at the right time, because hopefully it will give some of our players, like Odegaard, we've got Jesus out, we had White out, for goodness sake. I mean, God, the list just doesn't stop, does it? We know Partey's not going to be back, and we don't even know if he's going to be a future Arsenal player now. But, the others, hopefully this break, it might give some of those players a chance to return, as long as their countries don't come in and say, no, he's not injured, he's going to play for us. We don't have a scenario
Brazil
like that.
are doing that, aren't they? There's a lot of discussion about Brazil losing faith
I don't know
in
if
us.
I don't know if either of you saw it. Did you see the? I only saw it on Twitter. It wasn't on them when I was watching. But there's it might have been from, I don't know what country's broadcast it was from, but it's when Fabio Vieira's coming off, and there's just Arteta, but it's just the look. It's the look that he get, because normally your manager gets up, doesn't it? It's like, come on, he pats it. He just sat there, and the look was so much. It was like, it was hilarious. It was like when you go out with one of your mates and his missus is with him, and he does something that completely embarrasses both of them, and the woman never say it. They just do it with a face. Yeah. Everything that they want to say is done with a face.
Eyes.
And oh God, it was piercing. I was like, he's fuming with you, mate. He is like what Neil's just said, because we're so limited at the moment. And he's like, I gave you those minutes there. You would have had 30 minutes against Burnley, and then if you look at it, and I don't want, as much as I want to say, I don't want to disrespect anybody in this league, but the next games are Brentford, who, I agree, they are a very, very good side, tough side, but he was brilliant there last season. It was arguably his best game he's ever had for us. And then we got Wolves, and we got Luton, and I'm like, there are three teams there that you would think we could be up in those games. And so we can make the 5 changes and bring these people that aren't getting the minutes on to save the big guns. And there's 3 games now where he's going to have to sit and watch either at home or behind them all in the seats that the players get. So I can understand the frustration, but I do agree with you, Neil. The way he was apologetic about it afterwards was the indication of, I've not done this with, I'm really sorry. Like, I hope I haven't hurt him. Yeah.
He's anticipating the ball bouncing.
Exactly.
If you watch it, he's anticipating the player gets to it early, and he's just left it, like you said. But I think it epitomises players coming on in this game and not being quite ready. Kivior also does, because Mikel Arteta lost it with Kivior on the bench, because he turned to him as soon as the red card happened. Kivior's sitting there in his tracksuit, and he's like lost it with him. He's like, how can you not be ready to go on when we've just had a red card? You're my only first team defender sitting on the bench. And I think he's got a point there, Mikel Arteta, to be honest. I mean, even I knew Kivior was coming on as soon as that red card went up. So, this general sort of malaise and lethargy from the bench, which I haven't seen this season, that I didn't really like that at all. And Fabio Vieira epitomised it, really. But I also would say on the injury front, I said this to James, I think, on a voice message. I think whether he's had a conversation with the physios and the medical department, but I think he is being not overly, that's a bad word, but I think he's being far more cautious this season with how he uses players. For example, White, did you see his comments on White? He said White didn't complain about anything before the game. We recognised something in him, and we felt he wasn't quite ready to go, because we never complains. We felt we'd noticed something in him in midweek, and we decided to pull him from this game. White didn't pull himself from it. We pulled him from it. And if you look at some of the players we've had out this season, while it's been a lot, look how quickly Martinelli returned. Look how quickly Trossard returned. Look how quickly Saka returned. Whereas White last season, he'd have played this game. Tomiyasu against Seville in midweek, does he come off at half time? Don't think he does. I think he carries on playing through it. And I think what he's doing, whether it works out for us or not, I think what he's doing is, if I catch things early enough, I won't lose them for as long,
It's like what Neil said earlier. We saw what happened last year when we played people in games that they should. Neil was at that Europa League game when both of them went down at the same point. And now that when you're going for what we're going for, don't take these necessary. I mean, Rob Holding did that podcast, didn't he, before he left to go to Palace, and he said, what was it, Newcastle away, I think, White done his hamstring, but he still played the whole game. And he's like, he played basically on one leg because he won't pull himself out. And I'm like, yeah, the fact that we've probably, like you said there, Arteta said, no, we told him, you're sitting this one out, mate, because there's, that's, it's good management. I'm quick to point out stuff that he does wrong, so I'll praise him when he gets it right as well. Yeah, it's good squad management,
Yeah, exactly. Frustrating for us because you're like, oh, we've lost another player's out. We can't play the first team, etc. But yeah, overall, hopefully we see the benefits of that, like you said, a little bit later on in the season. But great win in the end. Won it in a way I didn't expect us to win it, but sometimes you've got to take what's on offer to you in the game, and I think we did that well. And showing this is one of those games that you just in a few months' time you won't remember anything about this game. You'll remember the scissor kick, and that'll be it. And that is fine. You need a few games like that. Every side that wins things has games like that. Let's hope we're one of them this season. But couple of week break now. Jan window came to my mind a little bit with that break. I know we're about a month away from it once we come back, but there's obviously so many little moving parts to it. Neil, if you could do one thing in January and you had the money to do it, or you could also talk about how would you create the money, but if we could do one thing in January, because I think it's maybe unrealistic to think we'll do more than one big thing in January, what would you do? Because there's multiple positions and ways you could look at this. Where would you look to strengthen?
Well, the obvious one is if I could get anyone in, I'd like to get Mbappe in.
He might be available.
It'd be like what, 3 million a week?
Yeah, we can do that. Surely
we can do that. Sure, change it.
They'll release another trend, another collection, won't they? A couple of collections.
Sorry. Can I just say there is? I know now why I got confused. You know why I thought it was Zinchenko? It's because there was that moment where Raya made a great save, and that was the one where he was out-muscled by me. Yeah, so sorry, I apologise for earlier. I've now rewatched the Tommy Asu. Yeah.
To be fair, some of these streams at the weekend were terrible. I mean, I got to see Eduardo's goal in 2009 versus Burnley. That's how far behind they were. I was like, that's a screamer. That is Eduardo.
The camera angle for this game. The camera angle for this game was dreadful. I don't know what they were doing.
I had to change it. I had a stage where I was like, I don't know if it's Indonesia, or I was like, these commentators aren't English, but I can't cope with watching a game on a drone.
Yeah. Shocking. They obviously lost one of their cameras.
I thought it was going to be sick.
Yeah, it was shocking.
Because it just it was spinning like this, like for me. I was like, will you just stay still, you mentalist?
Yeah, it was the worst. It was really bad. Yeah. But if we can't get Mbappe, Neil.
Yeah. Obviously, the Partey thing is a huge concern because we need to. My only worry, Rice is magnificent, but he can't do 3 people's jobs or 2 people's jobs all the time. We've got Champions League and Premiership games, which he's going to be playing pretty much every single one. I wouldn't even be surprised if he plays in the FA Cup. So we need that a midfielder now. Who are we going to get? I don't know. That's your expertise, you and James. But I think that's one of the positions. But there's several positions. We've got to potentially look at, if you're going to say we're using Eddie as collateral, then we need someone to fill that place in. Right, yes, we spoke earlier. We got Trossard coming, got Jesus. But what if Trossard had got injured in that, so unselfish, goal? And then we're out with Jesus is out, Trossard is out, and then say we haven't got Eddie because we've sold him for a midfielder, for example. So, we're short again, aren't we? So I think striker is also another position. I've always cried out for an out-and-out striker. Whether Arteta sees it that way, I'm not sure. But I think we need someone there.
Then Tony.
Well, there you go. Then you've got the Saka conundrum because, look, I love Nelson. James, you know that I love Nelson. But I'm still really confused as to why he was given a 4-year contract. Number one, when he's hardly used. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So it's a bit of a baffling one, that one to me. So there's potentially that position. You quite rightly mentioned, I think it was Jack, that even your a right back because Tomiyasu is now more the left. And then why, there could be concerns or a requirement there. But I think that's probably at the bottom end. For me, it's the midfield stroke striker position. But at the moment, it's got to be midfield the priority for me. So that's where I would go. And again, I'll leave it to you to now do what you love doing.
James has got his list. James, you as well. I think you might be in agreement with Neil. What's your thoughts for the one man you might get in?
Yeah, it keeps chopping and changing, Jack, because I think that we need potentially two. I'd like two, but I feel like it could just be one somewhat big. It might not be the big player, but it will be a big spend because it will be someone, the main source and everything else is that we're going to get Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz is not going to come to this club for anything less than 60 million. I personally, I'll put my neck on the line. I've liked Douglas Luiz for a while, about 2-3 seasons. And I think that he fits the bill of everything that this club wants, in that he's within the league. He's Brazilian. And Arteta knows him from when he was at Man City, because he was at Man City as a younger player and he's been coached by Arteta. So he fits that 3-person criteria that Arsenal seem to like. But then I'm with you, Jack, in that as much as I feel that, yes, we need a 6 cover and it'd be good to get him now so that he beds in, because the likes of Thomas Partey, El Neni potentially might retire. You never know. El Neni we might give El Neni another season. Jorginho, is he going to leave? Is he going to be given another year? Because if they stay, they're probably only going to be given year rollings. They're not going to be given
another year at this rate.
Yes, yeah, I think he probably will. I think he might get given another year.
Have you seen his injury rate? I don't want to tell you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
His
9 days or something, isn't it?
9 days in his whole career or something. He had a fever for 7 days and he had muscle fatigue for 3 days or something stupid like that. I mean, touch wood, of course. Thomas Partey probably had that before he arrived at Arsenal, but still, that is mental, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, carry on.
No, so I feel that as much as we're talking about the defensive reinforcements, and with obviously AFCON, you've got El Neni, who, okay, he's not even really played that much, but he's still an option there. You've got Partey that's definitely going, because he won't play a minute for Arsenal, but for a fact he'll play every single minute for Ghana. And so there's two somewhat 6s there that are gone. You've got the Asia Cup, so that's Tomiyasu gone as a right back, centre back, and left back, because he covers defenders. Yeah, he covers 3 roles. So unless you're going to go, okay, Cedric, you're back in there, because you don't know how good Timber's. Timber's talking about he'll be back in January, and he can. We know he can fill all 3. Right, he can play centre back. He's done that for Ajax, and he's done it well. He played predominantly as the centre back instead of as right. But when we signed him, he played more games as a centre half for Ajax that season than he did at right back and left back. So you're thinking to yourself, are we going to look at an option there? I think that could be potential. A right centre back, right back option could be another one that we look at. But I'm with you, Jack, and if he's fit, I'm a humongous fan of Pedro Neto. And I think
that would be mine.
I think he'd be that. As much as, again, it makes me think, though, like you said, Neil, you've renewed Nelson for 4 years on $100,000 a week. You bring Pedro Neto in, he's even further down the pecking order. But Nelson, for as much as I want to see more of him, and I think there is a player in there, it's the consistency.
Who are you selling to get 40 million in, James, if you're getting your Luiz or your Pedro Neto?
Yeah, you're selling Aaron Ramsdale, aren't you?
Yeah.
I know that's good. I had this discussion yesterday. I was like, someone said to me, same as you, and I went to him. I said to him, "There's 2 players that we can sell potentially in January, but if we do them, sectors of this fan base are going to go absolutely mental about it, and it's Ramsdale and sadly it's Smith Rowe. They're the only. I know. I don't want to sell before anyone jumps on. I don't want to sell Smith Rowe. I sort of really don't want to sell Ramsdale because if something did happen to Raya,
Yeah, you've got him.
We're going to have Carl Hine unless we buy another goalkeeper.
We're going to have to buy someone if we sell him as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It'll be cheaper, I presume.
And who is a really reliable, somewhat number 2 goalkeeper now? Because the goalkeeping coach, some of the ones he's recommended to buy as number 2s, let's not forget.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want a Renarson or Turner now. Again, this is another thing as well. Nottingham Forest have dropped their goalkeeper and put their other one in, but not in the news that. I thought it was illegal.
Chucking it in, Turner, wasn't it? Yeah.
I thought it was illegal to swap your goalkeepers, considering that's how Arteta's been put in the Hague for swapping his.
Where's Ramsdale going though? Anywhere but Chelsea? Is there anyone but Chelsea's going to offer 40+ million for him?
I don't know. You got to look around. You got to look around and see what's happening in Europe, mate. Because there's some of them still that are after. I think Bayern Munich are still not happy with it. I mean, they're just blaring everybody out anyway, so they probably don't care about their goal. If they're conceding 1 or 2 but scoring 7 and 8, it don't matter, does it? But
no, exactly. Yeah,
it just depends. Yeah, I think the only club that he can go to, and again, we do for whatever reason since Bowley's come in, we do so much business with them.
Yeah,
buying and selling.
Yeah,
and,
I like both your reasonings. I would just say we've not notoriously done much of what we want to do in January under Mick Arteta.
No.
1st January, wanted Vlahovic. We ended up not getting Vlahovic and letting Aubameyang go last minute. 2nd January, we wanted Mudryk. We did really well. We got Trossard in, but he still wasn't our first choice. It was a great signing. So I would say expect the unexpected in January, basically, because we won't necessarily get
I think the striker's going to wait till the summer. I think
so too.
You mentioned it about does Mikel see it? I think he does, but he knows in that summer window, that's where he's going to do his next 100 million type spend on a big time sort of centre forward. Maybe not stature wise, but I'm going to try and sign us a 30 to 40 goal a season type player.
Yeah,
because I can't get one in the January.
Yeah,
if there is one, I can't get him. And
at the moment, it just feels too jumbled, the central area. Yes. Like you got Trossard, you got Eddie. Do you play Havertz there? Even if Jay is like one of those would have to move on, I think, to get a striker in there. Whereas you could buy a winger right now, and let's be honest, if Saka and Martinelli go down, we've got Trossard who's fantastic, but there's no one that can replicate the way a Martinelli breaks and the way that speed. We haven't really got that ability to replicate that whatsoever.
The 6 is such an important area and position, especially if you want to keep Rice as an 8. Yeah. So I think if you buy hypothetically Douglas Luiz now instead of waiting till the summer to do it, you're bedding him in for a part of the, and then the next season he's already, instead of adjusting to it in pre-season, he's had the January and a bit to get used to it. And I really like him, Jack. I think
he looks really good.
I think he'd be brilliant for us if we got him. I think he'd slot in there straight away. Rice would love him. Odegaard will love him because he's so good at, like we were talking about with Wright, he's so good at like breaking stuff up, and he's starting to add goals to his game. A bit more than but his production is just he's passing like long and short. That's what we need. We need someone that's basically, the Jorginho pass that he played against Seville, and we were like, oh bloody hell!
Yeah,
you need someone. Yeah, you need someone like that, but he's got legs.
Yeah,
and that's what Douglas Luiz, he can run. When you see Jorginho, we mentioned it. When we see Jorginho on transition, the majority of us go, oh shit.
Yeah.
But with Luiz, you won't have that worry because one, he'll either clatter him and get sent off, or he can catch up with him.
Yeah. My choice would be just about Neto because of his versatility, his age. I think he'd be more viable in January. I don't think it would be easy at all, but more viable than a Luiz. He just signed a new contract.
Well, as much as Wolves are sort of turning it around, every player at Wolves is available, mate, because of how badly they've been with money.
Right, there you go.
So regardless if he wants to sell them or not, he needs to sell them.
Yeah. So I think I would be going in that direction, but I don't see any deal that we're looking at being very easy at all. But let's do predictions before we go for Brentford, because I might not have a podcast before then. It's Brentford away at 5:30 on the Saturday after the international break. Neil, you did well this week. Didn't you get the Sevilla one right? You didn't. And did you get first score right for that too?
I said Saka would score. I think. Did I say that? But he scored
2-0.
Yes.
I didn't get my prediction. I got to listen back.
I said 3-0 for Saturday, so I was out by one boxy goal. But
you're pretty close. Go on then. Do your predictions for Brentford. Ramsdale definitely has to play Ramsdale. Beyond that, we don't know until fitness updates come along and give us absolutely no information. But go ahead.
I think if we get some of our injury players back to full kind of almost full strength, I think it's always a tough one, isn't it, Brentford? You never quite know, but I think after that shock, we've redeemed ourselves very well. I'm hoping the events of this week compared to last week is the ones that the players are going to carry with them going forward, although we've had a break, so we lost that bit of momentum. But I just think we're going to have too much for them. As good as and as difficult as a team that they can be, and a thorn in our rear end that they can be, I think we'll have too much for them. I'm hoping, as I said, some of the players will come back from injury. Hopefully there'll be some of them who aren't playing international or on international duty will be refreshed, revitalised. I'm going to go for I'm going to go for a 2-0. 2-0. 2-0. And I'm going to be a little bit. I'm going to try someone. I'm going to say Rice 2-0. Go on.
Rice. Go on, Declan. If he better not play him against Macedonia and Malta. Oh, he will, won't he? The melt. James, what's your prediction?
I'm going to go for 3-1 again. And I'm going to pick Gabriel this time. Set piece.
Gabriel, yeah. Set pieces, yeah.
Did he score against them last season there as well? Gabriel.
Did he? We won 3-0, didn't we? Jesus scored a header. Vieira scored.
Yeah.
The long range one.
It was Xhaka. Was it Xhaka that got the other one?
It might be Xhaka, yeah.
Yeah.
Xhaka delivered the ball to Jesus for his goal. No, I think Saliba scored. No.
Yes.
I think Saliba scored, or maybe it was Gabriel. No, it was Saliba. It was like it was a header. We did score from a set piece. I think it was Saliba.
Yeah. I fancy us scoring another set piece.
Okay, Gabriel though this time 3-1. Gabriel. Well, you're looking that up. I'll go 2-1 Arsenal.
Yeah, it was Saliba corner. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I'll go 2-1 Arsenal Saka. I'll go 2-1 Arsenal Saka. I need him to get back in the goals. Well, I mean, he scored midweek, but yeah. Well, we can come back to a win, boys. Another proxy international break.
The first game is City Liverpool that weekend, isn't it? Like the game that kicks off. It's the early kickoff.
He's already moaning about it.
Yeah, well, of course he is. It's a day that ends in Y, so of course he's moaning.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, because one of the chasing pack's going to drop points, so you want to be on it. So yeah, I hope.
Yeah, we're going to win.
You're right, James. It's a must win because one of either one of the two are going to drop points. Yeah. Absolutely.
You always say it to me. Neil. You say to me, I know you're not a big tennis fan, James, but you got to break the serve. I'm like, that's correct. Yeah. Yes, we do.
Yeah, break the serve. That's it. It's been. Let's be honest. It's been a great week. We had a bad one last weekend, but it's been a great weekend. You know, I mean, Tottenham. After going into Monday, I'm sure you were all looking at it, going, "We've lost. They really probably should win these two." You know, Chelsea at home at the time was you were just thinking, and they got battered against Chelsea at home, and then they lose to Wolves in the last minute with 2 goals.
Well, it's funnier because it's self-inflicted, Jack.
Yeah. Oh,
like you're playing a team in Chelsea that are terrible against the low block. You've done the low block, and they still can't break you down. Yet you go to 9 men. Oh, we'll have a go, mate. Well, look what happens when you have a go. You score, lose by 4 goals. You melt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know what that was like. Schoolboy stuff. The way they were playing in the second half, but it was hilarious.
If they stayed in that block, they'd have got the draw.
Yeah,
because Chelsea were never going to break them down unless they gave them the gaps to do it. Look at what happened when they had that. It took them ages when they gave them the gaps.
Yeah.
Chelsea we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we did say before we played Chelsea that their metrics are actually very, very good this season. And when you watch how they played against Tottenham and how they played against City, the way we limited them to basically a dodgy penalty and a cross-come shot.
Let's give ourselves a pat on the back, please.
Right. I mean, we didn't do enough creatively, a bit like the Newcastle one, but let's be honest, both of those goals were a huge chunk of luck on their end. Beyond that, they didn't create very much at all against us. And we were still more creative than they were in that game.
Again, man at the bottom of my screen, he said, yeah, I'm angry, but that'll be a good point in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
You did say that.
Took that point away as well, yeah.
Can I just say, where we were so enterprising last season, and we scored 88 goals without an out-and-out striker, this season we've done the kind of reverse, where we might not be so potent up front, but we've cleaned up our acting defence. We all called it that you cannot win a league by conceding the number of goals that we conceded, and now we're doing the opposite. So just imagine, after we've won the league this season, next season when we've got both sides right and the middle, the quad is there for us for taking. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah, love it. No, yeah, you're right, mate. You're right. And let's hope we come back as we left off. So fingers crossed. Boys, it's been great. We're at Purely Arsenal FP on Twitter, Purely Arsenal on YouTube. Just subscribe to us there. That would really help us out. But if you see us on Twitter, you'll see the pods posted there as well, ad-free, all that good stuff. And you can see all our acts there. If you've got any questions for us, we appreciate it. Neil, James, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it. We'll be back after the international break with hopefully another big win to talk about. Fingers crossed. Up the Arsenal, boys, up the Arsenal.